Did you know that some common vegetables can be dangerous for dogs and cats, and what others, when used correctly, can improve digestion, strengthen immunity, and even help with weight management? In this video, you will find out which vegetables are really safe in BARF food, which should be avoided at all costs, and how to prepare each of them in the right way, respecting the physiology of pets. All based on science, without guesswork. Ideal for those who are starting the food transition or want to avoid serious mistakes when setting up their pet's natural menu. Many owners who decide to adopt BARF natural food for their dogs or cats are soon faced with a seemingly simple question, but one that hides important decisions. Can I include vegetables in my pet's diet? And if so, which ones are safe and which ones can carry risks? The BARF diet, based on raw bones with meat, offal, and other natural ingredients, proposes to simulate the ancestral diet of carnivores, but that doesn't mean that all natural foods are welcome. Especially in the case of vegetables, the wrong choice can generate unwanted side effects, from poor digestion to serious poisoning, and that's precisely why this video is so important. The truth is that vegetables have a very specific role within the BARF diet. They are not the main component of the diet, but they can be used as an extra source of fiber, vitamins, and enzymes, in addition to helping with satiety and good intestinal function. In general, vegetables occupy about 10 to 15% of the total composition of the dish, enough to offer benefits without overloading the animal's digestive system, which is naturally adapted to a carnivorous diet. But this limited percentage means that each vegetable inserted needs to be chosen carefully. It is not enough to throw a grated carrot or green leaves on the plate and think that everything is fine. It is necessary to know how to prepare, when to offer, and, above all, which vegetables should never be used. Most of the mistakes we see in homemade diets for dogs and cats come precisely from the attempt to enrich the dish with raw, poorly prepared, or toxic vegetables based on human assumptions, and not on the animal's real nutritional needs. A good starting point is to understand that not all vegetables that are good for humans are safe for pets. For example, garlic, onions, and chives, common ingredients in many recipes, are toxic to dogs and cats, even in small amounts. These foods contain compounds that destroy red blood cells, leading to hemolytic anemia, weakness, and, in severe cases, even death. And the danger is not only in the raw form, even cooked or dehydrated, these vegetables remain dangerous. Another common mistake is to offer raw potatoes. Potatoes contain solanine, a toxic natural substance that can cause vomiting, diarrhea, and neurological problems. It is only safe if it is fully cooked, and even then, it is not recommended for BARF food, which recommends raw and biologically appropriate foods. Therefore, foods that require cooking to neutralize toxins should be avoided within this model. The same applies to corn, peas, and beans. Despite being popular vegetables, they are all rich in starch and can ferment in the digestive tract of pets, causing gas, abdominal discomfort, and changes in intestinal flora. In addition, they are low in natural enzymes when compared to other fresh vegetables. And this is precisely the strength of including vegetables in BARF, offering live enzymes that aid digestion and complete the nutritional spectrum. And here comes a fundamental concept. The vegetables that enter the BARF menu must be mostly low starch, with a high fiber content, and preferably with light leaves or roots. The goal is not to fill your plate, but to contribute in a precise way to the balance of the diet. Among the safe and most recommended vegetables are zucchini, carrots, cucumbers, broccoli, kale, and romaine lettuce. Each of them offers distinct benefits. Carrots, for example, are rich in beta-carotene, which helps with eye and skin health. Zucchini, with its high water and fiber content, is excellent for dogs that are prone to overweight. Cucumber, on the other hand, fresh and crunchy, contributes to hydration and is well accepted by many animals. However, even among safe vegetables, it is necessary to pay attention to the way of preparation. Almost all should be offered raw, but finely crushed, either by grating, tapping in the processor, or grinding. This is because dogs and cats do not chew food like humans do and have difficulties breaking down plant fibers. If a piece of carrot is offered whole or just chopped, it can pass through the digestive tract without being properly absorbed, exiting in the feces practically intact. Therefore, preparation makes all the difference. Grinding the vegetables breaks down the fibers and releases the nutrients, facilitating digestion and enhancing the benefits of inclusion in the diet. And it is worth remembering that, in most cases, vegetables should be used in small amounts and always combined with the correct portion of meat, fleshy bones, and offal, never as a substitute for these ingredients. Another important point is to avoid any type of seasoning, oil, or salt. Even a pinch of pink salt or a drizzle of olive oil, which may seem harmless to human eyes, can throw the diet out of balance or cause negative effects on the animal's sensitive digestive systems. The rule is simple: the more natural and pure, the better. It is also essential to pay attention to the origin of the vegetables. And whenever possible, choose organic products free of pesticides and pesticides. As pets have a faster metabolism and a more sensitive body, the presence of chemical residues, even in small doses, can directly affect health over time, especially in small animals or those with a history of allergies and liver problems. And speaking of allergies, it is important to test the introduction of each vegetable with caution. Even vegetables considered safe can cause reactions in animals with specific sensitivities. Start small. Observe the reactions in the animal's feces, skin, and general disposition for at least 3 days before adding another new vegetable. This helps to identify intolerances and avoids overloading the body with too many novelties at the same time. For those who are just starting out on the BARF diet, the recommendation is always to work with a veterinarian nutritionist or a zoo technician specialized in natural food. Each animal is unique, and even among similar breeds, needs can vary significantly. What works well for a medium-sized, active dog may be inappropriate for an elderly cat with kidney problems. Building a complete, balanced, and safe BARF menu requires more than goodwill. It requires technical expertise, attention to detail, and above all, a commitment to the animal's long-term health. And when it comes to the inclusion of vegetables, this responsibility becomes even more delicate. Understanding which vegetables can and cannot be part of the BARF diet is just the beginning. The next step, and often overlooked, is to understand why each vegetable is included. That is, the focus is not only on which one is safe, but on which one is functional and necessary for that element. And this distinction changes everything. The mere fact that a vegetable is non-toxic does not automatically make it useful. In a BARF diet, each ingredient should have a clear function: to contribute to digestion, provide micronutrients, help eliminate toxins, control the glycemic index, or support the immune system. Everything needs to have a reason. Kale, for example, is rich in fiber, calcium, and antioxidants. In small amounts and well processed, it can help with intestinal transit and liver health. However, in excess and offered raw for a long time, kale can interfere with thyroid function due to the presence of natural goitrogens, substances that affect iodine absorption. Therefore, despite being allowed, kale needs to be used in moderation and within a rotation of vegetables, and not as a fixed base vegetable of the diet. Broccoli is another vegetable often cited as healthy, and rightly so. Rich in vitamin C, K, and anti-inflammatory compounds, broccoli can be an important ally in fighting inflammation and supporting immunity. However, like kale, it also contains sulfur, which in excess can cause gas and intestinal discomfort. The rule is simple: offer in very small portions, processed, and always observing how the animal reacts. Carrots are perhaps one of the most versatile and safe vegetables on the BARF diet. It is naturally sweet, which makes it attractive even to the most selective animals. Rich in soluble and insoluble fiber, it helps regulate the intestine, strengthens the immune system, and even contributes to oral health in some dehydrated versions. But like all vegetables, it should be used as a complement and not as a meal base. Kabocha squash, in turn, is excellent for dogs with digestive sensitivity. It contains fibers that help form the fecal cake, in addition to being rich in beta-carotene, which protects the skin, eyes, and strengthens the immune system. It is especially suitable for moments of food transition, mild episodes of diarrhea, or constipation. However, pumpkin contains a considerable amount of carbohydrates. Therefore, its inclusion should be strategic and limited, especially for animals that are overweight or prone to glycemic peaks. And when we talk about dark leafy greens, such as romaine lettuce and spinach, we have more nuances. Romaine lettuce is light, hydrating, and rich in folic acid. But spinach, although rich in iron, has oxalic acid, which in excess can inhibit calcium absorption and predispose to the formation of urinary crystals, especially in cats. Therefore, despite being a nutritious food, spinach should not be part of the constant eating routine, being more suitable only in rotation and with specialized guidance. On the other hand, some vegetables are extremely beneficial and almost always forgotten: celery, watercress, and chicory. Celery has natural diuretic properties, contributes to the elimination of toxins, and is excellent for animals with fluid retention. Watercress acts as a natural anti-inflammatory and helps cleanse the liver. Chicory, on the other hand, is rich in inulin, a prebiotic fiber that feeds the beneficial bacteria in the intestine, strengthening the intestinal flora and improving nutrient absorption. Now, if there is a mistake that needs to be corrected urgently, it is the attempt to veggie the BARF diet too much. Some tutors, when looking for a more green diet, end up overloading the plate with leaves, roots, and vegetables, trying to compensate or balance the meat with an exaggerated variety of plants. And this mistake is dangerous because the digestion of dogs and cats is not adapted to handle large volumes of vegetable fiber. The result can be a seemingly colorful but nutritionally unbalanced, fermentative, and harmful dish. Another recurring problem is poorly preserved vegetables. Past vegetables with fungi or signs of oxidation can cause diarrhea, vomiting, and poisoning. And even when apparently healthy, many vegetables on the market are impregnated with pesticides, and pesticides invisible to the naked eye. Therefore, the ideal is always to wash with a safe solution, such as water with baking soda, and prioritize reliable local producers or organic gardens. In addition, it is worth paying attention to the temperature. Very cold vegetables, fresh from the refrigerator, can cause thermal shock in more sensitive animals, especially puppies or the elderly. The ideal is to offer the vegetables at room temperature after processing them to ensure a smoother digestion and a meal more pleasant to the animal palate. And a common question among tutors is, can I freeze crushed vegetables? The answer is yes, as long as the freezing is done correctly. The ideal is to freeze individual portions already crushed, without added water, in glass or silicone jars. This prevents oxidation and loss of nutrients. Avoid freezing whole vegetables and thawing them in a microwave, as this alters the cell structure and can compromise the digestive properties of the food. Another valuable tip, don't mix too many different vegetables at once. The excess variety, although it seems healthy, makes it difficult to monitor adverse reactions. Introduce one new vegetable per week, keep the rest of the diet unchanged, and observe how the animal behaves. Only after that, move on to the next one. This care in the introduction allows you to understand which vegetables your pet tolerates better, which promote firmer stools, more disposition, or better appetite. Observation is one of the most powerful tools in the management of natural food, and every detail counts. Choosing the right vegetables is only one part of the equation. Another determining factor is the frequency with which these vegetables are offered, something that few owners consider with due care. In the BARF model, vegetables must be inserted in a cyclical manner, varying every 3 or 4 days with constant rotation. This is because the frequent repetition of a single vegetable, even if it is safe, can overload the body with certain substances. Kale, for example, contains oxalic acid and goitrogenic acids. Carrots, excess beta-carotene, broccoli, sulfur compounds. None of these elements are harmful in small amounts, but if they are consumed daily for weeks, they can generate silent metabolic imbalances. Another aspect that is little explored is the strategic use of plants according to the physiological state of the animal. An obese dog, for example, may benefit from more fibrous vegetables, such as chayote or zucchini, which increase satiety and reduce the calorie index of the dish. A convalescent or recovering animal, on the other hand, can have the menu adjusted with lighter vegetables rich in digestive enzymes, such as cucumber, which is refreshing, hydrating, and not aggressive to the stomach. This personalization is what turns the BARF diet into a therapeutic tool, when done with guidance and technical knowledge. In cats, care needs to be even greater. Because they are strict carnivores, cats have a much lower tolerance for vegetables. In general, the proportion should not exceed 5% of the total diet, and always focusing on light fibers, such as zucchini or cucumbers, never dark leaves or fermentable vegetables. Excess fiber in felines can reduce taurine absorption and cause persistent loose stools, which can lead to deficiencies in the medium term. In cats, less is more, and each ingredient needs to be thought of more precisely than in dogs. Another frequent mistake is to compare BARF natural food with vegan or vegetarian diets for humans. This kind of confusion is dangerous. Dogs and cats don't have the same digestive enzymes as humans and can't extract essential nutrients from plant sources alone. Attempts to base a mostly plant-based diet for pets result in deficiencies in amino acids such as lysine, methionine, taurine, as well as severe deficiencies of B vitamins, hemiiron, and bioavailable zinc. They are fundamental nutrients for muscular, neurological, and immune function, and they do not exist in active form in vegetables. The BARF diet, when applied correctly, does not exclude vegetables but integrates them in a strategic way. They are not protagonists, but essential supporting actors. When inserted at the right time in the ideal amount with the correct preparation and careful observation, vegetables can make all the difference in the vitality, longevity, and digestive comfort of the animal. But any mistake in this process, even a small one, can compromise everything. Therefore, a golden recommendation for those who are just starting out is to set up a simple table of rotating vegetables with columns that indicate vegetable name, main function, fiber, hydration, enzyme, etc. Preparation method, cru, crushed, finely chopped, etc. Optimal frequency, twice a week, weekly, occasional. Post-use remarks, changes in stool, behavior, digestion. This type of record helps consolidate learning, prevents repetitive mistakes, and allows the tutor to gain confidence and autonomy over time. Over time, the routine becomes more natural and the animal's palate also adapts to more neutral or green flavors, especially if the transition is made with patience and positive reinforcement. And speaking of taste, it is important to remember that not every pet accepts vegetables right away. Some dogs reject cucumbers, others ignore carrots, some cats don't even look at a chicory leaf. This does not mean that the diet is doomed. In many cases, it's just a matter of texture, cut, or way of presentation. Grating into thin threads, beating the mixer with a little natural meat broth, or mixing with a small portion of offal can improve acceptance. The rule is to observe and adjust, never force or overoffer. Another point that deserves to be highlighted is the relationship between vegetables and supplementation. Many people believe that by using a wide variety of vegetables, they are meeting all of the animal's needs, which is not true. Fat-soluble vitamins, such as A, D, E, and K, for example, need animal fat to be absorbed. Bioavailable calcium, essential for bone balance, is only obtained with raw, fleshy bones or specific supplements, never with vegetables. In other words, vegetables help, but they do not replace essential ingredients of animal origin or dispense with balanced formulation. For those who still have doubts, a good alternative is to use online nutritional consultancies with veterinary nutritionists who can formulate individualized menus based on the animal's history. Many of these professionals offer ready-made tables with rotating vegetable suggestions, adjusted daily amounts, and safe food introduction protocols, which helps a lot in the beginning. And finally, a direct recommendation. Avoid generic recipes on the internet that do not take into account your pet's size, age, clinical history, and level of physical activity. The natural diet is not a universal formula. It needs to be built responsibly. A simple mistake, such as the constant use of oxalate-rich vegetables or the excessive raw leaves, can compromise months of progress in health. Food can be the medicine, or poison. It depends on the dose, the choice, and the knowledge. BARF. Natural food is, by definition, a return to the origins, but that doesn't mean following instinct without technique. On the contrary, feeding naturally requires more study, more attention, and more commitment than simply pouring feed into the pot. And when we talk about vegetables, this care multiplies, because they represent precisely the point of greatest confusion for those who are just starting out. They seem harmless, but they require technical knowledge so as not to become a disguised risk. Taking care of an animal is more than feeding it. It's understanding what each ingredient is doing inside his body. It is knowing that kale can strengthen, but also harm. That carrots can nourish, but also unbalance if poorly dosed. That spinach, garlic, onions, corn, all these popular foods on the human plate, can have serious consequences when misapplied to a pet's diet. That is why, more than memorizing can and can't lists, the responsible tutor needs to learn to read the animal's own signals. Observe the stool, the skin, the mood, the appetite. The food is lively, dynamic, and changes as the pet changes. What was great in the winter may not be ideal in the summer. What worked when the animal was 2 years old may no longer work at 7. And what is good for an active 60-pound dog can be disastrous for an elderly, sedentary cat. Therefore, the final message of this video is simple but essential. Do not feed your animal based on guesswork. Feed based on science, observation, and respect for his physiology. Vegetables do have a place on the BARF menu, but this place is strategic, punctual, and balanced. They can contribute to your pet's digestive, immunological, and even emotional health as long as they are used consciously, in the right measure, the right way, for the right reason. And if you've stayed this far in this video, it's because you care. You're the kind of tutor who wants more than just feeding. He wants to nourish, he wants to protect. You want to offer your pet the best that life can give. And that's the first step to a long, balanced, energetic life alongside him. If this content helped you, take the opportunity to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. This helps us reach more owners who, like you, want to change the food reality of their animals. Share this video with someone who is just starting the BARF journey. And if you want to know how to put together a complete weekly menu with proteins, offal, and well-distributed vegetables, take a look at the description, which we leave a special content there. Your pet deserves more than kibble. He deserves real nourishment, and this transformation starts with you.